My first was a 1954 Plymouth, yellow and white. Beautiful car. Drove it for years. I traded it off for a 1949 Dodge Coupe. It was all to pieces, but I loved the old thing. Good car. It would crank, and it was something that you could rely on, which is good for any automobile. If you can rely on it, then you're satisfied, more or less. I was. That was back when I was single, and there was a lot of friends, and we'd all pile in that car and circle the Chat and Chew. You didn't know where the Chat and Chew was, did you? Okay. It was in it was seemed like to me world renowned restaurant over on 62, going almost into Greenville. It had a wraparound drive, and you could drive around it or park, and the waitress would wait on you, or you could go inside and uh, and eat or whatever. It was a gathering place for everybody around,
Hmm.
and us boys we'd always want to sit out there and shine our car up a little bit and set it out there where everybody could see it. One of those things. Old Chat and Chew brings back a lot of memories. I had two girls in a car with me one night. The fellow that owned the restaurant was Orbry Cheney. He shot a man right there. We were sitting at the end looking through the where you walk in and order your food, sitting there talking in our car, and we heard loud people talking loud. We looked in there and seen Orbry. He had his pistol out and he's pointing it towards this fellow on the other side of the bar, and they was cussing each other. And the fellow who was a paratrooper, he didn't have enough clothes on to suit Aubrey. He just had his short breeches on. Aubrey got a big sign there. You come in dressed, you get waited on. If you ain't dressed right, then you don't get waited on. That's the way he was. And he had a short temper. Well, we were sitting out there and listening at the noise that was giving out in there, and Aubrey had the pistol. He pulled it out like that and shot the fella. Killed him right there on the spot. And first thing I did was fire up the old Ford we was in and take off and hide. Cause I didn't want to. I knew the police would be there shortly. Well, we took off, and I took the two girls home. They were sisters, lived up on a place called Brick Roll in Graham, and I went home, and I was telling my mother, father, what just happened. And just about the time I got the last word out there, police pulled up in my yard. I thought, oh my God, now I'm going to jail for seeing something. But they asked me 1,000 questions about what happened and all that. And turned out I was a number one witness of the whole thing, me and them two girls. And we had to go to trial and all that stuff, go through a murder trial. Aubrey got some time out of it. I don't think it very much. But he was a good fellow. I liked Aubrey. But he had a quick temper, really quick. And that was one of my teenage memories. And the Chat and Chew was a mighty fine place to be. There was just so many people there that you knew, you're right at home when you're there talking. They hired a new policeman, state trooper, Herbert Johnson. I already had one state trooper, Darrell Curry. Herbert pulled out there one time and was talking to a bunch of boys about racing and all that stuff. That's all we did out there on the highway, especially in front of the Chattanooga. We'd have a good time racing, drag racing. And I guess the adults didn't like it, so they had the police down there quite often watching us. So I never will forget that Herbert Johnson said, all you boys, all of you, I want you to gather around me. I want to ask you some questions. So we all gathered around him. I was standing right there looking at him. He said, I've got a list of all the troublemakers in this county right here in my hand. And he said, when I find out, if I stop somebody out there on the road and they're on my list, they're going straight to jail. And number one on my list of the county is Truman Stewart. Oh my God, I'm going to jail right now for not doing nothing. I thought that was funny. For a few minutes there, I said, no, that ain't funny. I was number one on the most wanted list in the county. And everybody out there was looking around and there he is right there, see him? See that little runt out there? There he is. Take him down now. So Herbert Johnson turned out to be a good friend of mine. He was. He found out that I was just with the gangs, and did everything else that the youngers do, just growing up. That's all it was. We never got in trouble, and I enjoyed his company. He was a good fellow. Last time I saw him, he was in Central City at a church over there, and we talked about those days. Had a good time. Anyway, that was the story of my restaurant running when I was young.